Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to the committee for having me before you. Just to qualify myself, I'm a global IT consultant. I'm a commander in the U.S. Navy, and I'm a family readiness officer. We have a unit out at Southbridge, a couple people deployed right now. Been doing family readiness things since the first Gulf War. This issue affects my soldiers, my sailors. Okay, this is kind of personal. I have an MBA in finance. I'm a statistician. So you could consider me an expert. I won't be using any fuzzy logic here. These are your numbers that I'm helping you understand. So with that, I will give you an abbreviated version of my testimony, and I provided several detailed statistics on this. But the basis is following on to Murray Davis's testimony. The Supreme Court of the United States, Miller versus Madeleine K. Albright, who was the Secretary of State of the United States at the time, testified before the Supreme Court and reiterated, and the Supreme Court affirmed what Murray Davis shared with you. And it's our duty and obligation to fulfill that here in the state of Michigan, which we don't. We do not fulfill what's been confirmed by the Michigan Supreme Court. Also have a study here, and we've worked with Citizens for Traditional Values, Michigan Family Forum. It's called Parenting Our Children in the Best Interest of the Nation. This is not fuzzy logic. This is really hardcore, in-depth studies that basically affirm that we have to try something different because the current system is not working for our children and our families. We actually had a package of bills, family preservation bills that went up to the governor's desk, and unfortunately they weren't signed. But some of the premise of the bills that are in motion right now are the same types of bills. They put welfare reform in 1996 because they're trying to move the big financial burden of that over to non-custodial fathers. Okay? The other intention was that would also build an infrastructure and an incentive to insert fathers back into children's lives, because the fathers were abandoning the family, or at least that was the impression. The unintended consequence is that they implemented the welfare reform. We still have the same kind of budget. Okay? The number didn't go down, even though we tried to move the dollars over to child support. The second thing that was not implemented, the states did not implement, and maybe it just wasn't clear, but the idea was to insert fathers back into the kids' lives, because we know the expense of children on welfare is a disaster. It's frightening. We also, there was a recent study here. It was at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago, and this is the first of its kind. And it's called The Taxpayer Cost of Divorce and Unwed Child Parenting. Okay? And it's a very conservative study, and it was done by a professor out of Georgia, and he's a political science professor and a statistician. And his numbers were very conservative. For example, we know Supreme Court Justice Maura Corby here in Michigan says that the domestic relations court load is about 66–68%. Okay. Talk to Judge Viviano in Macomb County, they know about at least 50% of the cases are with unwed parents. Okay. So his number is 38%, not the 66%. And still, the number of the cost of divorce and unwed childbearing is $113 billion a year to your paycheck. It's a taxpayer cost. Okay, that's more than the Gulf War each year. That's $1 trillion over the last decade. In the state of Michigan, my calculations is that, and that was a very conservative number. I mean, just do the math. $113 billion. Michigan has a $42 billion budget. It's over $1 billion a year in taxpayer cost, and a very conservative number. So if you want to solve the budget issue, then you would start inserting voting parents back into the kids' lives. I'm just going to read one paragraph of this, and then I'll open it up for questions. But there's 2006, there were 38,000 divorces in Michigan alone, affecting 31,000 children. Okay? That does not include the fact that 38% of all marriages, all children are born in this state in unwed conditions. So of those 31,000 children, that does not include the 38% of all the children that are born here that are born in unwed parent situations. I mean, we have, Houston, we have a problem. So if you're going to try to fix the problem with the same process, you really can't expect different results. So we're compelled to try something different. I mean, we have to. I've attached several statistics directly related to single custody situations from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The Institute of American Values estimated a conservative cost of $113 billion in taxpayer costs per year as a result of divorce and unwed childbearing. Our conservative estimate is a direct savings, budget savings out of your $42 billion budget. I predict you will exceed over $1 billion in savings with shared parenting paradigm. We have also identified from a source at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that, and I will get that letter to you. We talked about Mike McCormick, and unfortunately I don't have it. But one of the biggest concerns in North Dakota, and we're not doing anything different. There's other states that already have this legislation in place. And there have been only positive consequences of doing that. Michigan just needs to catch up. But the big concern was in North Dakota is that they were going to lose millions of dollars in TANF funding. Okay. Well, this individual from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that shared parenting did not have a material effect on the TANF or Title 4D funding to states that implemented shared parenting. Michigan has more than 10,000 employees administering child support to TANF, and less than one-half of one person working on family preservation issues. We also know that more than 90% of the prison inmates grow up in a single-parent household, and that the high school graduation rate from a single-parent household is slightly over 30%. I'm on the recruiting district advisory council for Commander Borgdorf in Detroit, for all of Navy recruiting. Only 28% of all of the kids that want to join the Navy can qualify. And you also heard just recently, we have a 25% high school graduation rate in Detroit. If we keep doing the same thing, let's not expect different results. I hope you will support 4564 and some of the other legislation, and I hope you'll find time to look at my report or invite me to come by and talk to you further.
Thank you, Commander. Other questions?